Hello, this is Eileen, the environmental educator, and in this video, we're going to talk about a situation in Arizona where um, the wells are running dry. And well, it's not just drought weary Southwest, and it's not just because of foreign owned farms, but the wells are running dry in Arizona. Drinking water for homes and schools in Arizona is drying up. And again, it's because of the mega farms, but there's a few culprits to it. Here is an article by Phoenix Mag, and this is in 2016. These two here are November 6th, 2022, and November 5th, 2022. There's also some YouTube videos out there. I watched this one by Arizona PBS, and this was from 6 years ago. And this talks about this whole. You'll hear there's Saudi farms out here. Saudi Arabia banned. They depleted their underground aquifers, almost really took them down to very low levels. So they said, hey, you can't do alfalfa farming. We can't be depleting this groundwater. So Saudi Arabia went and looked elsewhere, and they chose Arizona, and this was from 3 years ago. Draining Arizona, mining water in the desert leaves residents' wells dry. So this has been news for years, but like everything else, like the situation with the Colorado River, it just keeps getting worse and worse. So we'll just go through some of these articles here. There's some interesting things. So this starts out with workers in the water district in Wendon, Arizona saw something remarkable last year as they slowly lowered a camera into the drought-stricken town's well. The water was moving. The water is almost always still, usually, but in this case, they said the farm was pumping and it was sucking the water through the aquifer. So um, right now, groundwater is the lifeblood of rural Southwest. But just as the Colorado River Basin is in crisis, aquifers are rapidly depleting from decades of overuse, worsening drought, and rampant agricultural growth. And so this says that residents and farms pull water from the same underground pools. So how long your water lasts depends on how deeply the well was drilled. And so right now, some of those lower drilled wells, like, families drill wells to 100 feet deep. That's where a lot of these wells, it seems, are. But, the farms are at 1,000 or more feet deep. So they're sucking out all the water. And right now, there's foreign-owned farms growing thirsty crops like alfalfa, which ultimately gets shipped to feed cattle or other livestock overseas. And so Arizona geohydrologist Marvin Goffey says, um, who is a well drilling expert, says you can't take water and export it out of the state. There's laws about that. But you can take virtual water and export it, by using it to grow alfalfa, cotton, electricity, or anything created in part from the use of the water. So right now, there's a lot of agricultural and industry, even some high-tech companies out there using 9 million gallons a day. We'll get to that, but it's just incredible how much water is being drained out of these wells every day. So it says that around 80% of the state, Arizona has no laws overseeing how much water corporate megafarms are using, nor is there any way for the state to track it. And it says that residential wells started drying up in 2015. And there's a well here that feeds about 200 customers, including schools, and it's nearing the end of its useful life. So, here's just a little picture. We just stand on the green part here, the grass, the ground. And then this right here is about 100 feet under um, the soil. And that's groundwater level in the late 1950s was at about 100 feet. Residential well depth is around 300 feet. And now groundwater level in 2022 is 540 feet. So from the 1950s to today, they lost 440 feet of groundwater, and that's a lot of groundwater. And this water, that's in these aquifers. I mean, this has been deposited there for thousands of years. This is thousands of years of buildup here, and we're just draining it in a matter of decades. So yeah, Middle East companies are here because they have depleted their water. And in 2018, Saudi Arabia finalized a ban on growing thirsty crops like alfalfa and hay to feed livestock and cattle. The reason was simple. The arid Middle East also struggling with climate change fueled drought, which drought has nothing to do with thousands of years of water that have been underground that haven't been utilized until the past couple decades. And since we've been utilizing it, we've almost run it dry. Okay. So, but the Middle East is running out of water, and agricultural is a huge consumer. So they needed to find water somewhere else. And this Middle Eastern Saudi Arabia country, Al Marai, Almarai company, it owns about 10,000 acres of farmland in Arizona and 3,500 of agricultural heavy Southern California acres. And right here, it says that there's a growing trend in foreign-owned farmland in the U.S. Foreign-owned farmland in the West increased from around 1.25 million acres in 2010 to around nearly 3 million acres in 2020. So remember when we were America, our farmland and our crops were ours. And yes, they got exported, but they were American companies, American workers, American produced, not, a lot of this, it just goes, this Saudi Arabian company, they just send it right back to their country. And, oh, hey, thanks for your water. And of course, America, the treason against itself. America is only collapsing because it has been given the go ahead to just destroy it from within, from every angle imaginable, including our farmland. So it's really scary how much foreign-owned farmland in the Midwest, foreign-owned farmland has nearly quadrupled. So, right, it's very scary how much farmland in America isn't owned by Americans, because let me tell you, these foreigners don't have America's interests, okay? And the reason America is collapsing is because America doesn't have its own interests either, right? America is so busy thinking, oh my God, the whole world has a place in America. No, it doesn't. No, sorry. So about these Saudi Arabia farms, it says the alfalfa on the trucks is eventually shipped to feed cattle in Saudi Arabia. They've definitely increased production. They've grown so much since they've been here. We'll see what they have to say a little later. They say they're doing it responsibly. But right here, even from Arab News, it says the transaction was part of continuous efforts to improve and secure its supply of the highest quality alfalfa hay from outside the kingdom to support its dairy business. It's also in line with the Saudi government direction toward conserving local resources. Okay, well, they've just about drained their resources. It's not about conserving, it's just about not even accessing anymore. They pretty much ran the well dry and then realized they had to look elsewhere And America said, hey, please, please, what's more American than another foreigner? But the company's attorney said, they decided to invest in Southwest U.S. just as hundreds of other agricultural businesses have because of the high quality soils, climatic conditions that allow growth of some of the finest quality alfalfa in the world. And he added that there are some of the most technologically advanced, conservation-oriented watering systems available on the market. So, yeah, I said we'll get into a little more detail of that from a different article, but they're saying, hey, everybody else does it. Right, as I said, there's nothing more American than another foreigner being on American soil. So, all they say that there is nothing illegal about foreign-owned farming in the U.S. Cynthia Campbell, a water resources management advisor for the city of Phoenix, who has been watching La Paz County, that's where this is going on. She's been watching the situation with frustration. She said, we are literally exporting our economy overseas. I'm sorry, but there's no Saudi Arabian milk coming back to Southern California or Arizona. The value of that agricultural output is not coming through in the value to the U.S. And right now, it says about 80% of the state falls outside of active management areas with no restriction on how much groundwater can be pumped and no way to monitor it, which they say it can't get any worse, meaning about Arizona's lack of regulation on rural groundwater. So in this Daily Mail article, if we scroll down just a little bit here, this is maybe a little more concrete drawing of what it looks like underground. There's your house. It goes down to a well. The water starts at about 100 feet. It used to, and now farms are going down to 1,000, 1,500 feet. Their wells, and this is all the same well. So they're just sucking it up from very deep depths that homes can't get to. These wells cost thousands of dollars to put in. So Holly Irvin, who is a La Paz County supervisor, said, Saudi Arabia has depleted their water, and that's why they're here. And since they've been here, they've definitely increased production. And the parent company is worth 14.65 billion, according to company's market cap. So, yeah, they've definitely got some deep oil pockets over there, but water is the new oil. So the Phoenix Mag article says that the new owners, the Saudi owners, have poured about 180 million into developing the land. So, yeah, for the single purpose, all of the alfalfa grown here is immediately baled into hay and shipped overseas to Saudi Arabia to feed the huge stable of 157,000 dairy cars owned by a company named ALMARAI, the largest food producer in the Middle East Kingdom. And it says that they have at least 23 wells on their property, which is capable, each one is capable of pumping out more than 100,000 gallons of water daily. And so that's up to 2.3 million gallons of water a day. They say they're stealing the water is a common refrain in the region. And it says here it requires up to 4 times more irrigation than growing wheat. Alfalfa does 4 times more than wheat. And this article says over the past half century, farming in Saudi Arabia has depleted roughly 4/5 of the groundwater under the Saudi peninsula, putting a hard expiration date on the country's capacity to feed all those cattle. And yeah, so 80% of their groundwater they depleted. So they're not touching their groundwater, but when they go and deplete groundwater in America, well then they already have people looking for the next place they're going to move to. Wherever there's groundwater, they'll go and they'll use it, just like Americans have done we'll just use it till it runs dry and then we'll worry about it. I mean, this is a ridiculous situation. Nobody saw this coming. So that same Holly Irwin, the LA La Paz County Supervisor, said, they're taking advantage of areas that don't have restrictions. Well, they're not really taking advantage. They are just following the law. And so the fact that nobody has stepped up to the plate and gotten things managed is the problem. The Saudis really aren't doing anything other than everything we allow them to. And so the Saudi company says they're using far less water than was used before, and the director of the Arizona Department of Water Resources backs up that claim. Since they bought the farm, they've increased its efficiency by putting in more efficient delivery systems, drip irrigation, and pivot irrigation. They've been saving between 25 to 50% of the water used compared to what was going on before with traditional flood irrigation method. But the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter if they're more efficient, they're still depleting that reservoir that took thousands of years to build up far faster than that reservoir can be replenished. That's the issue here. And some people in Arizona are, complaining that, what they did back with the oil embargo of 1973, and now they're over here taking our water. Well, let me tell you, while they're taking our water right now, they're also not cooperating with sending America oil, as we've been begging them to, because our people running the show, the occupiers, they turned off our natural resources. So we don't have our own oil, which we should. So Saudi Arabia didn't just cut us back off in the 70s. They cut us off again just right now while they are still here, just using America's laws to their benefit and using all the water, the lifeline to life. You cannot survive without water. But right here, they say, there's hundreds of companies in Arizona that have always been shipping alfalfa and other crops around the globe. Why is this any different? They're saying there's just a prejudice here, that China-based companies have been doing the same thing for years. And the thing there is it really doesn't matter who's farming these lands. They can just drain as much water out of these aquifers as they want, and whenever it goes dry, it goes dry. And that would be happening if American companies were in there. The question of should American companies be operating on American land is a separate issue. And of course, even for national security, yes. But, in America, treason, every day people get up and go, now how much more can I destroy America? What more can I do going along with everything that's wrong to destroy this country? That's how America's been destroyed, by every American not standing up and saying no. So it doesn't really matter who's depleting these aquifers. It's that these aquifers are being depleted. And here they say Intel is using in Chandler for their $10 billion fabrication facility. They're using 4 times as much as the Saudi farm. So, but the interesting thing about that is the math of the people that are so concerned and are in charge, where they say here that Intel company uses 9 million gallons of water daily, but it also returns about 5 million gallons to the underground aquifer for eventual reuse, making it a role model of sustainable water practices. That is absolutely ridiculous, and that is why this country is in such trouble, because people that are in jobs in companies all over this country think like this. So we're taking out 9 million gallons a day, and eventually, for eventual use, 5 million gallons are, to me, it seems like 5 million gallons are now being dumped on Earth's surface, because how these underground aquifers get filled up is, water that hits Earth's surface eventually seeps down and fills up these aquifers. And so these 5 million gallons are going to take a very, very long time before they get thousands of feet deep in the ground and start refilling these aquifers. But still, you are draining 4 million gallons of water a day, and that is not making it a model of sustainable water practices. Sustainable water practices would be you utilize what you have access to right now, which means they would be operating based on the amount of rainfall and the amount of water coming in from the Colorado River. Yeah, not depleting aquifers by 4 million gallons a day by one company alone. That is not a sustainable practice. But this is why America's in such trouble, because these are the people that are being paid to solve this problem who actually say that. That they say that the Cubs spring training gains in their center in the Bank of America and its downtown building uses huge sums of water. Everybody, homes use huge sums of water a day. Okay, everybody does. We all use a lot of water, but before, yeah, well, before, when people had to haul water, they didn't, and then they used what was sustainable. And, since America thinks that we just have unlimited, especially, when it's been underground, there's a lot of underground aquifers drying up across this country because they're underground. Well, we'll just dig a deeper well. We'll dig a deeper well. Well, it's like Lake Mead. At some point in time, the well's just going to run dry. And that's what's happening. And right here, this Phoenix Mag article, this was September 1st, 2016, is titled Saudi, Arizona. And but as they say, there's a lot of people using this water. And the fact of the matter is, even if it were just Americans using this water, it would be getting used because we don't do anything sustainable. And that includes especially using things that are out of sight. Well, the water just comes from underground. Well, the wells eventually run dry. And right now, the people in Arizona are getting a taste of that. It is drying up. And there's going to be a huge wave of people leaving all of these drought stricken homes. You can't live there if you don't have water. And where are they going to go? Every place else doesn't have enough water for the people that are already there right now, too. So, if we had sustainable practices and if people would let me lead, we wouldn't have drained these reservoirs, and we'd be doing sustainable things and not using ridiculous manufacturing processes unnecessarily. It also uses a lot of water, just getting and disposing of our disposable society. Incredible amount of water goes into that. And if we had environmentally literate people, maybe we would care before the water dries up. But that's not human nature. You know what? Oh my God, she's such a Debbie Downer. Everything's fine. Right. Until as these people are finding out, um, the day they turn on their water tap and there is no water, and that's happening all over this county down here in Arizona and the surrounding areas. And this is a very serious situation because, yeah, Americans are going to be refugees pretty soon. So stay tuned, people.